profession, which is, I believe, it's one of the most it's a most profession where people really do hard work. Being in hospitality, it's no easy job. Physically, mentally, it's very straining from both ends. So from this particular job, how did you transition into a philosopher, a psychologist, an educator? How did you take that journey? If you can take us through that.
Sure. It was a long journey, but I remember after finishing the traineeship and going back to Melbourne, there was a delay with the company opening restaurants. And after 2 years, it really didn't seem like they were going to open restaurants. And I really had no idea what was going on. And I actually wanted to go back to Japan. So I went back to teach English. And that was kind of strange because I wasn't very academic and I struggled with English, but I was very good at communicating and being patient and caring. And when you go to Japan, you're actually teaching conversational English for the most part. And I worked at this commercial school, which was called an Eikaiwa school, which means an English conversation school. And you're basically guiding people on how to have conversations. And so that was interesting to do that as a job, and then to be in Japan and having fun and reconnecting with friends and, again, studying Japanese. And then I just had this desire to always, at some stage, I just wanted to do my own thing. And I knew from pretty much my mid to late 20s that I just had this desire to do my own thing. And eventually I started my own school. Some years later, I moved to the town where my wife is from, much smaller than Tokyo. And I started my own school there.
Congratulations.
And then after that, sorry?
I said congratulations.
Oh,
that is a huge achievement. So congratulations.
It's funny, you sort of make these decisions, but also sometimes they're not the best decision. You realize, oh wow, I've created a school. I can't grow it large enough to employ anyone, and I can't leave it because I can't take holidays because I've got to be looking after my students. And so you learn when you start making these decisions, and you tend to see things with very positive, ambitious eyes. But then when you start doing the actual work, you realize, okay, there's a few challenges. But that's probably a part of growth. Mm-hmm. And then it led to me learning about the internet. And then I learned about marketing. I made my first language product with my business partner in Japan. And then we had a son. And then by the time he was about 3, we felt coming back to Australia would sort of be best for him because Australia's a multicultural and a few other reasons.
Yeah.
And I actually did go back to a job when I returned to Melbourne. Mm-hmm. And it was the worst experience of my life.
Oh.
So it was just...
sorry to hear that.
Yeah. It was meaningless work. There was workplace bullying. And it really got me quite depressed. And I just thought, this can't go on. I can't continue to live like this. So I thought I would rather do my own thing and fail than continue to live like this. So I literally one day, I just got a manager, I got a witness and said, all this bullying's been happening and I'm leaving now. And I just walked out. And that was really hard, but it felt so freeing. I can't tell you how freeing it felt to walk out the doors and just think, I'll never have to put up with this, bullying and crap again. So that was, that sort of defining moment, because it really then led to me pursuing all these different things. And I tried all these various online businesses. And then eventually, sort of 10 years into doing that, I stumbled upon Ikigai. And there is a backstory, because I was introduced to the word Ikigai way back in 1998. And so on my first day of teaching, I was, young and ambitious and sort of showing off my Japanese to these Japanese coworkers on a lunch break. We were walking to this cafe or a restaurant, and this Japanese girl just casually said, "Oh, what's your Ikigai?" in Japanese.
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Ikigai? What's that?" And I didn't know what she meant. And she gave me this explanation. It kind of blew my mind. And I was like, wow, you have one word that encapsulates purpose and the reason why we get up in the morning and the reason why we battle on through life. And I felt, gee, that's just amazing. And I remember going into work the next day, wanting to talk to this coworker about this word and being disappointed to find out that she'd been transferred. And I think I was thinking all morning about, I've got to talk to this girl about this word Ikigai. And then, life got in the way, and I moved on with working. But then 10 years later, I started seeing the Venn diagram and all these romantic notions that Ikigai is a word from Okinawa and it's the secret to longevity. And I just knew factually all of that was either wrong or exaggerated. And then it kind of blew up. And then I started seeing Ikigai everywhere, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on blog posts, in TED Talks. Everyone's sharing the Venn diagram, which I'm sure you've seen and probably your audience knows about, that Venn diagram that asks, are you doing something that you love, that you're good at, that the world needs, and that you can be paid for?
Thank you so much for taking us through that, because I'm sure some of them know, some of them don't know. And I am saying this right now for all the listeners and audiences, that stay tuned right now, because this is the place where Nick is going to take us through that. What is this different perspective on Ikigai? And I suppose by now you've understood what Ikigai is. As Kemp said, it's the purpose of living. What is that helps you wake up every day? Now, the conversation that Nick had with the Japanese girl, we wouldn't know, but we will know what Nick has discovered and what's that different take that he can tell us now. So, Nick, the floor is all yours.
Sure. Yeah, thank you. So I guess the way I can answer this now is I've spent the last 2.5 years interviewing Japanese researchers, Japanese authors, non-Japanese who've studied the concept. And it's really interesting for two sort of main reasons. For Japanese, Ikigai is very simple. It's something very small and personal. And it might be their pet. It might be something like camping. It might be, for grandparents, it's usually their grandchildren. So it's not something grandiose and flamboyant and ambitious. So for your average Japanese, it's something quite small. And maybe in Japanese culture, we could understand it as a coping mechanism, because Japanese do live stressful lives. They tend to work longer and harder, and they probably appreciate these smaller things that help them, get through the day. So that's one way to look at it. Now, there's a growing body of research on the Ikigai concept that started in the 60s and has continued on. And there was a pioneering researcher called Miyako Kamiya who wrote the seminal book called Ikigai ni Tsuite. And tsuite means about or regarding. So it might be regarding Ikigai or about Ikigai. And this book is still referenced today. It's considered standard. And even researchers refer to it now. And she discovered that there were 7 Ikigai needs we needed to satisfy in order to feel Ikigai-KAN. So Ikigai-KAN means Ikigai feeling or Ikigai awareness or Ikigai perception. So the key difference is Ikigai is something you feel. You have an experience and then you feel it. And so she said we have Ikigai sources. So again, relationships, people, hobbies, aspects of our work, even memories. So we have these sources, and then related to these sources, we have feelings. So it really is something you feel. It's not something you achieve or earn. It's certainly not relatable or influenced by money. So yeah, that's sort of the big difference. It's something you feel.